we'll get started in a few minutes, but in case you didn't notice, there's less chairs in the room because of the holiday decorations and the giving trees. So if I see the need, we'll pause for a moment and I'll put up more chairs. If everybody could maybe just take up one chair. If someone else comes in, we'll have openings for chairs and we'll work it out. So. I'm sorry, if the board members can please make sure you have your microphones on, we're going to get started. Okay, good evening. It's 6:30 p.m. on Monday, December 8th, 2025. I'd like to call to order the Village of Brookfield Board meeting. Would everyone please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mike, we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Ketchmark.
Here.
Trustee Whitehead.
Here.
Trustee Hendricks.
Here.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Here.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Here.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Here.
President Garvey.
Here. Thank you, Mike. We have one presentation this evening. Before we get started with Psycho Brookfield's AARP bike audit presentation, I wanted to turn it over to Trustee Kaluzny for a few minutes just for some initial remarks or acknowledgments. So, Trustee Kaluzny?
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to thank Psycho Brookfield for finding this grant opportunity, applying for it, coordinating so many volunteers, coordinating village staff, other members of the community to participate in it. It was a really fun ride. I was with Ken and down Prairie, and it was just really informative to take the time to go really slowly and look at everything. And so I'm excited to hear their presentation tonight. Thank you all for taking the time to put that together and come talk with us tonight.
Thank you, Katie. Is this a group presentation, team presentation? Everyone
It's a team.
Come on up to the microphone, one at a time, speak. If you could just, we all know who you are, but each of you as you speak, if you can just announce your name for the record, please. And thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I'm Joe Seymour. I was the volunteer and grant writer who led this this project. This is the. Thank you. I'm going to summarize our AARP community bike audits that I did for Kenman, Prairie, and Maple Avenues this September. Before I start, though, I want to tell you about Psycho Brookfield. You've probably heard of us before. We're a 501c3 dedicated to making Brookfield a better place to bike and walk. First, what is a bike audit? So a bike audit is a guided assessment of a corridor or several corridors looking at how comfortable and safe they are to bike on for residents of all ages and abilities. Cycle Brookfield is one of 10% of awarded communities nationwide, so 3,500 applicants, 350 selected to have a community challenge grant. And this can be placemaking, wayfinding. Our category was a bike audit. And this funding allowed us to do bike audits of 3 corridors across Brookfield, which I'll show in a moment. And this guided assessment was informed by the League of American Bicyclists. They have a toolkit we follow. So what was the problem? So Brookfield, despite being a great place to walk and live, it's not the best for biking. We do have 2 bike routes, which are wonderful, but our north-south streets in Kemen, Maple, and Prairie are not the most comfortable to bike on. So these 3 streets alone accounted for 60% of our bicycle crashes over a 5-year period. Cars are often observed going above the posted speed limit, and it's challenging for people to bike along and cross as well on bike and on foot and on bike. So what we did when we won this grant, we brought together a team of principals, teachers, residents, retirees, people from Brookfield, LaGrange, Riverside, and neighboring communities. 30 people overall. We had children through people age 80 and higher. And so we divide these 30 individuals up into 3 corridors, and I've got my 3 team leaders here. And we rode the corridors very slowly, as Trustee Kaluzny mentioned. And we collected information on pavement condition, signage, places to park your bike, places to go, as well as vehicle speeds. We had radar speed guns that we were taking data along the way. And then we debriefed afterwards as a group. So 3 corridors, again, were Prairie, Maple, and Kemen Avenues from Garrettson to 31st Street. And now I'm going to hand it over to each of our audit leaders to share those observations, as well as some photos.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ken Kanashak. I was the group leader on the Prairie Avenue audit. Some of the things we found, here we go, was missing some wayfinding signs to bikeable areas. On Prairie, you don't really see the 8 corners is this way or downtown signs directing anybody there. This is actually Ogden and Prairie. A lot of missing or faded crosswalk markings. We found it especially difficult to cross as bicycles. We had to, there's some signs missing about where exactly the crosswalk is, so that caused a little bit of work to cross. Some other things we found were some no or low bicycle parking, especially on the east side of the park there. And also downtown where Prairie and Brookfield meet. There were no bike racks for any of the businesses there. Some of the other things we found, is this still, oh, that's not me, sorry. I did. Nope, back. All right. I'm so sorry. There we go. So other things that we observed were on-street parking actually reduces our visibility when we were biking down the street. Also, some vehicles we noticed going above the posted speed limit. I will remark that day the police were out, and I think they were doing a special enforcement on speeders that day because we did see a few people pulled over. And again, the unsafe crossing at Ogden Avenue, the BNSF rail line, and actually just riding along the surface of the street at points there were some issues with the pavement due to the water main the water valve replacements. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Ken.
Hi, I'm Joe O'Connor, Vice President of Cycle Brookfield. I led the Maple Avenue group, and we ran into a few issues. We started at Garrettson and headed north. Before we got to Ogden, the streets there are kind of 3 lanes, 2 for traffic, 1 for parking, and so that actually is kind of helpful. That gives more room for cyclists on either side, gives a little more room for drivers to give you room. Once we crossed Ogden Avenue, that kind of disappeared. You're starting getting 1 lane going north, 1 going south, 2 parking lanes. That makes it a lot harder. Or for cyclists, you're kind of concerned you're going to sideswipe a car or get hit by a car that's coming behind you. Ogden Avenue is a real challenge. Some of the things we noted there were distracted and speeding drivers on Ogden Avenue. There was a pedestrian crosswalk that didn't work. It never showed a walk sign, so when you depress the button, you would just wait forever and you would never get a walk sign. Once we passed Ogden and before we got to the train tracks, we noted at the Burlington Northern Crossing, there's a lot of challenges there. As you approach it on a bike, you cannot see above the grade, so it's hard to see traffic coming across. We also noted that there's no crosswalks that would cross Maple Avenue. So you have, I think it's a preschool and a park there. There's no crosswalks for anybody coming from the east side of the street to safely cross Maple Avenue. As we got closer, 8 corners, the path.
Joe, do you want to advance the slide? I think there was a slide. Ken previewed it for you, but I know there was a lot of time put into
Sure.
these.
I'm not even going by that, but that's all right.
No, but it just, I
Yeah,
think visually it helped the
okay.
audience and the board. Thank you.
Actually, let's go to the next one, because that will give us
And
pictures.
for 1 second. There's, I see some empty seats. As I explained earlier, we're a little crowded because of the Christmas trees. We could bring out more chairs, but if anyone's got coats or jackets on chairs and anyone's standing in the back, there is open seats. If necessary, Tim, we could bring out a few chairs and staff members could just sit here temporarily if we need it. But there are chairs available up here if you'd like to sit. So, sorry for breaking your. There's 2 chairs right here. In the middle, yeah. So if you, okay. Thank you, everybody.
No worries.
Okay, Joe, go ahead.
So one of the biggest problems we experienced that morning was when we approached Grove School. There is a crossing button there that signals a red stopping light. And first off, there's only one button on the north corner. Also, I don't think cars know what to do with just that red light. We had a couple people stop and just proceed through the light. We had people just drive through the light. It seemed like they were accelerating coming out of 8 corners. Maybe they were distracted by us all standing there in vests, but we had 2 people just, run through that blinking red light. We kind of wondered if maybe a signal or some kind of guide to stop and go would be there instead of a flashing red light, which didn't seem to get people to stop. And once we 8 corners, what can I say about 8 corners? It is a challenge. I think the one good part is if you're accustomed to 8 corners in a car, it's not that bad to navigate on a bike as long as you hold that right lane. And then going from Maple to Maple, you only have one exit, so it's a little easier. But 8 corners is always a challenge. 31st Street, when we approach 31st Street, again, from 8 corners to 31st Street, a lot of parking on both sides of the street. Parking almost all the way up to the corners of Jackson and Quincy, which means if you're trying to cross that street, you can't see cars coming north-south. It's very difficult for a cyclist. If there's a car coming and there's a car going to pass you, there's just no room. So although Maple is kind of a one kind of continuous straight shot from north to south in the village, it presents a lot of challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Hi, I'm Chris Pratt, Brookfield resident, and I led the Kemen Avenue bike audit. And we also made some interesting observations. So the route, as north, we rode from 31st Street down Kemen, then Southview, under the metro tracks, and then south on Du Bois, crossing Ogden. And especially south of Ogden, an issue that was present was roadway debris and a lot of rough pavement. That was just kind of the state of it. At some other points, such as on Southview and Fairview, there was rough pavement that due to construction. One thing that came up is a lack of wayfinding, lack of signage to points of interest, especially on Kemen when there are interesting points of interest in Brookfield and in LaGrange that would definitely enhance the cycling experience. On Kemen, there were, when there aren't cars parked on the sides, it's a very wide road, which makes it easy, but there are definitely points where if there are cars parked, it makes the alleys and the driveways kind of blind. I believe one of our riders did have a close encounter with a vehicle exiting an alley near 31st. Most of the crosswalks crossing Kemen were faded. You could see evidence that they did exist, but they were mostly gone unless you were really looking for them. And the most unsafe areas were crossing Ogden. The crosswalk at Du Bois and Ogden, it did change, but I think it was north of 2 minutes waiting for the light to change. We also had challenges crossing the rail line at the sugar factory, but I want to also commend the fact that since we did the bike audit, that has been repaved and has been made a lot nicer. So thank you for that. And then 31st Street, like the approach there, it narrows a bit due to some parked cars and cars turning. And so that presented some challenges, and also the light to cross in north on Kemen and south is it's fairly short for that direction. And so you can see some pictures here on the stretch of Du Bois between Ogden and Metro Station, and cars approached on Burlington Avenue quite quickly and drove fast even though it's a short stretch of road. And those were the main things that we saw, but there's a lot of potential to really make it a good cycling route.
Thank you.
I know we're short on time, so I'll
No,
wrap.
take your time. You've spent time on this, so we're here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. So why do we want to make these three corridors more bike-friendly? Well, first of all, these three north-south routes through Brookfield, they connect to major destinations, the bike lanes on Washington Ave, and our neighboring communities. They create opportunities to take more trips for recreation, for commuting, for pleasure throughout the area. Especially near our schools, they increase safety for children riding and walking to school. We're also looking at improvements that could benefit Brookfielders of all ages and abilities. Again, we had children through seniors on our bike ride to help us experience and for us to understand where those challenges are. We're also looking at supporting our local businesses by making it easier to bike through, whether they're the new shops at 8 Corners or downtown, as well as helping the village move closer to its active transportation goals from 2017. So what are some potential solutions that we identified from our bike audit? So I've got 2 pages of these. So first, as my route leader has identified, we can improve wayfinding or signage to indicate where destinations are to bike, how many minutes away they are, or what road to take, either to the Salt Creek Trail, to 8 Corners, LaGrange, LaGrange Park, Riverside, our schools, and more. On roads where it makes sense, signage and pavement markings can go a long way to indicate where it's safe for bicyclists to operate. We also talked about bicycle parking. There are opportunities to install bicycle parking throughout the village, especially along these 3 corridors. And we also talked about crossings that are very uncomfortable. Improving those as part of Energize Ogden would be helpful. At 31st Street, rail crossings, as well as some of our prominent cross streets like Lincoln, Jackson, Garrettson, near Congress Park, and Monroe. So kind of every couple blocks or quarter mile would be helpful for connecting east-west, not only north-south. Finally, some other solutions could include looking at reducing speed limits on some of the roads, paired with changes that make the road feel slower to drive along. I know that 30 is the posted speed for some of these roads, so pairing that with some of the crossing improvements might make motorists feel more comfortable slowing down and driving at that constant speed. As we noted, parking, we're not recommending eliminating parking, but managing some of that on-street parking near the cross streets and alleys, just pulling that parking restriction back a little bit can go a lot of way in daylighting or making the crossing more visible for especially people on small bikes or children. They're harder to see from a higher vantage point on a taller car. And then for some of the road-specific recommendations, Prairie may have sense for some shared lanes and reduced speed limit to make that more bikeable on the village's east side. And then for Du Bois and Kemen, a combination of shared lanes on the south side and potentially bike lanes on the north side of Kemen, is it one of the wider roads, could make sense. And then trying to connect between Kemen and Morton is definitely a challenge. So with that, I want to thank you all for your attention this evening, especially Trustee Kaluzny for joining us and Libby for joining us as well. We had a lot of fun. We're going to be submitting our report to AARP at the end of the month, and I'll submit my report to the village as well. If you have any questions, you can direct them to me or to Cycle Brookfield's president, Chris Valadez.
Thank you for all the time and effort on this. Appreciate it. And I appreciate that you offered possible solutions. I mean, you have the attention of the village board. There's staff members present. There's representatives from Hancock Engineering here that when we design street improvements and projects, and you hit some of the key points. Energize Ogden as we look there, and this board has talked a lot about wayfinding signs and bike racks, and made that a priority. So as change happens, it's gradually. Some of the speed limit things you mentioned, we don't necessarily have control or jurisdiction over the speeds of some of these streets. Some of our collector routes and the ability to change speeds and limit speeds. And I know, we could work with Kemen is obviously half Brookfield, half LaGrange Park, where we have a very good working relationship with LaGrange Park. But, the research and the starting work that you've done will help us as we plan improvements and come up with ideas going forward. And there's members of the police, the Public Safety Committee, Chief Kerrville is here as we look at speed limits, street crossings, parking restrictions and things like that. We'll take these into account. We'd love to have a copy of the final report and any response you get from AARP, but thank you so much for all the work you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, we are required by statute to have a public hearing on our 2025 tax levy. And so at 6:50 PM, I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing for the 2025 tax levy public hearing for the Village of Brookfield.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by Trustee Kaluzny, second by Trustee Narimatsu to open the public hearing. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So the purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comments on the proposed 2025 property tax levy. Notice of the public hearing was published in the November 26, 2025 edition of the Brookfield Riverside Landmark. At the board meeting on October 27th, 2025, the village board adopted resolution number 2025-74, determining the estimated amounts of money to be raised through the ad valorem property taxes for the village of Brookfield. And the amount of the requested tax levy is $16,477,540. The total village and library property tax levy is estimated to increase by 3.5%. The board has discussed this at these previous public meetings, and this is a point for public comment. So public comment at this point is just limited to the proposed tax levy. So is there anyone on my right side that has any comments about the proposed tax levy? Hearing none, is there anyone on my left side that has any comments about the proposed tax levy? Okay. All persons desiring to be heard have been given an opportunity to present testimony with respect to the proposed tax levy. Do the members of the village board have any further comments about the tax levy, or other than discussions we've already had?
No.
Okay. That is the extent of the information to be gathered at this public hearing. So at 6:52 PM, I'd entertain a motion that the public hearing be adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
The motion to adjourn was made by Trustee Whitehead, second by Trustee Gilhooley. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, the public hearing on the tax levy is adjourned at 6:53. We will resume with the village board meeting. And the next item on the village board meeting, this is a chance for public comment. And general public comment is allowed at this point in time. Just for anyone present, I do intend to allow specific public comment When we get to the rental registration item under regular business, you're free to comment now, or you're free to comment then, but otherwise, this is a chance to general public comment. And I will remind people that this is a chance to make comment. It's not a chance to question or a question and answer with the village board. And if you are commenting on the rental registration ordinance, with the consent of the board is I'm very liberal in allowing public comment. I don't place time limits or anything else. I'll repeat what I said last meeting and the previous meetings. We've heard your comments, we listened. The trustees that weren't at board meetings listen to the board meetings. You're free to say anything you want. I'd ask that you not, if appropriate, not repeat the same comments as before or multiple comments on the same topic that you've already made. I also ask, and you're free to do it, but I ask that you don't try and give the board legal advice. Even if you are an attorney, we have a very good village attorney, and the legal advice that you give is not necessarily the legal advice that we're going to follow, but you're free to do whatever. I'm just trying to focus the comments. If there's something new you want to add or any other public comment on the rental registration, I just ask that you keep that in mind. So at this point, is there any on my right side that has any general public comment, or at this point? Ma'am on the end here? Yes, yes. Could you come up to the microphone, please, and state your name?
We're actually talking about the same thing. Can we go up together?
Sure, if you could each state your name, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm Rebecca Charball.
Okay.
I'm Yola Ladeo, and we are here regarding the Salt Dome.
Okay.
And to say that I'm disappointed is an understatement. The size of this thing is insane. I don't know if you guys have driven down East Avenue and seen the size of it, but I am hoping that this can be reassessed and maybe an audit done after this winter season to see if it needs to be as high as it is. I have some pictures here. This towers over my house. It's probably twice the size. In height, it looks, I can't even get into the look of it. It's horrible. And I'm really hoping that we can figure this out to get this resolved, because I was just surprised to see that this thing went up the week of Thanksgiving, 24 hours a day, all of the noise. And then this thing towers over my house. It's twice the size, nonstop beep, 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 all day long from the trucks. And it is just, it's an insane eyesore. And I know it's already built and everything is already put together, but I'm hoping that after this winter season, that there can be some type of a resolution to see if it needs to be as high as it is. It's fine that it takes up the entire corner, but the height of it is just too much for me to handle.
Did you want to add anything? I'm sorry, because I want to give you both a chance to.
Okay, yeah, I think, again, just the height of it. When I look out, I live literally across from Yola, and instead of seeing Yola's house, I now see a white tube. With that being said, there's $1 million house that was just built and sold 2 streets down, and now I have a white tube and then $1 million house back here. But my view is literally the white tube. So we did have pictures. And I know I researched this because I am a mom of 2 littles, and I cannot be here all the time. And I did research, like, when it came out in the landmark of April 2025, and then I did research the minutes of all the village meetings. And again, you guys did approve of it of April 28th. And I watched the video. I saw that you guys talked about before. If maybe in the future too, if you could just, the close residents get like a letter, like, hey,
Right.
we're voting on this, it's gonna be this high.
Just anything that directly affects the people that live
Right there.
around, not just this, but anywhere in the village. If something is going up, I feel like a flyer should be distributed to the blocks, kind of around it, just to get some type of a notice. Not everybody can make the meetings all the time. Not everybody reads the village website, just having a little bit of notification would have helped to say, hey, this is a topic that we're gonna talk about, and you live right next door. Maybe you wanna come to the meeting. Just some type of notification. And we didn't even know what this thing was when it was going up. We're texting each other like, what are they doing? I don't know what they're doing. And then 2 days later, this thing's up. So, just a consideration to give to the residents when things like this are decided, take us into consideration a little bit. We live by this. We look at this every day. We have to now live with this, and
Well,
I'd rather not.
thank you for coming out. And you're welcome to share the pictures, but I mean, we all have seen it, we've been
Right.
by there. You're welcome to share the pictures, but we're able, we know what it looks like, and we're able to go by. I apologize for the inconvenience, and it did go up quickly, and it was, there's reasons behind that. I mean, our crews were able
Right.
to assemble it, but
But does it have to be the size that it is? Does it have to be the height that it is?
we can,
Maybe after it can be assessed, after you've used it for a winter season, to see how much do we actually need, how much storage space do we actually need? Does it have to go up that high? That would make a difference in our day-to-day, because we live there and we look at it every day.
sure,
So-
and we will revisit that. We need to require a certain amount of salt per our state contract, and it's expensive, and we need to protect it. We understand your concerns, and, the notice, maybe, we'll go out of our way to give, more notice in the future. There's certain statutory requirement situations where we have to give notice, but we can go above and beyond that in the future. But we will revisit as we go forward, and I apologize for Mother Nature's been tough on us the past 2 weeks, so there has probably been a lot of traffic going in and out of there with the salt trucks and everything else like this. If Mother Nature gives us a bit of break, maybe, or the timing of these, maybe snow will come at a more convenient time. It's just been a rough.
Do you know the height of this dome?
Uh,
Length
I
and
believe it's
width?
about 30 feet. 30 feet. I know. Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming out tonight, and like I said, you couldn't share the pictures, but we've all seen it. We have several trustees that live nearby, and we all drive by there, and we're very familiar with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Anyone else on my right side have any general public comment right now? Is that John? Come on up, John. Please.
I'm Jonathan Platt. I live at 3649 Madison in Brookfield. And I'm also working through Indivisible, West Suburban Chicago, on some immigrant rights and safety issues. So the main thing I wanted to address today is we, I should say, really appreciate the information now posted on the village website, which community information regarding immigration enforcement and public safety that was just recently put up the last few weeks. And especially we appreciate the ease it is to get to that particular post, because there's a prominent block on your home page that people can click on to go immediately to that post. We, with Indivisible, hope to continue working on disseminating information, such as listed here, and finding any ways to help not only protect our immigrants, but also protect our community, which wasn't mentioned before, but I hope you don't mind me citing this one particular issue that is a specific example is Elgin, Illinois. 2 days ago, ICE officers deployed both tear gas and pepper spray in a residential neighborhood. And as we all know, tear gas disseminates in a way that's unpredictable. It's a powder that I have read from experts, when it gets into a house, there's a good chance that tear gas can never really completely be removed from a residence. So this was in a neighborhood with families, with children who were exposed to that tear gas. Now this follows a court decision made a few weeks ago stating that was credible evidence that ICE is inappropriately using these materials, and there was an injunction written for them to cease and desist using them in residential neighborhoods unless extreme safety was involved, and this was not the case. There was no indications of anybody attacking the police. So this is community protection as well as following the law and protecting our immigrants. So I'll leave it at that today and look forward to working with everybody. Did you?
John, thank you for coming out. I know you took time to meet with Chief Curavilla. I appreciate all your efforts and communication, so thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
And just for people that just walked in, there is some open seats here up front. If you can come up, if you want to come up closer, there's open seats. We don't bite. We could add more chairs if necessary. It's just the Christmas trees are up. They're vacuuming in the back again. Sorry, we have cleaning people. They're very well intentioned, but they're vacuuming and it makes hard for this room, the sound of this board. So our village manager is going to go ask them to stop vacuuming. So they work at night to clean up. So, but we really want to be able to hear everything you say. So thank you. Anyone else on this side have any public comment at this point? Anyone on this side have any public comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Carl Betty. I've lived here since 1977. I read that you want to pass an ordinance where you go and inspect apartments through a village ordinance every 3 years. Is that?
There is a proposed ordinance that we've talked about over the course of several months up on the agenda later this evening, yes.
Okay, well, I'm totally against that, and the reason is, what's going to stop you next year from passing an ordinance to inspect every single family home in the village? I know that in China, government can go in and inspect anything they want to any time, but this is America, and we don't do that here. Okay?
Thank you.
Secondly, I'd like to address the bicycle people.
Yes.
All those bicycle guys that come, if you watch in the summer, that are 12 bicyclists all at once coming down Washington Boulevard, never obey the stop signs. They go rushing right through the circle. And at night, you have all these kids riding around. Why don't we make some ordinances where all these kids have to have lights on their bikes at night so we can see them? Because as a motorcyclist, you have to remember, as in a bicyclist, every car is out there to kill you. So you have to drive defensively. And that's the way I've driven all my life. But if you have no lights on, we can't see you. And if you don't stop for the stop signs, don't blame the car. Blame the bicyclist.
And Mr. Betty, thank you, and I appreciate. But the people you were referring to tonight, Cycle Brookfield, I know you see cyclists, these other people. This group is very up on safety. They promote safety. They teach safety.
I saw their bicycles, and not one of them had a light on it.
I know.
Look at the videos. Look at the pictures. Not one of their bikes had a light on it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Betty. Any other comments on this side? Ma'am in the back? If you could come up to the microphone and just give us your name, please. I'm sorry. You could. It's general public comment, so.
This was about the rental ordinance.
And
Is that okay to say it now? Or should I
absolutely,
do
it
later?
is. I'm going to give a chance later on, but you're free. I'm trying to accommodate people's schedules and everything else, so.
Okay, I just didn't
You're-
know since he mentioned it. So I did want to speak about that, but
Sure.
I can wait till later.
No, if whatever you'd like. We're going to go through some things, and then before the board takes any vote, I had promised people that we would talk about that again, give a chance for public comment, and I'll make some comments. So
Okay,
if you'd like to go now, you can. If you want to join in later, whatever you want.
I'll just do it now,
Okay.
since I'm up here. All right, so good evening, everybody. Thank you. This is my first time here. I'm Susan Daniels, and that's my husband in the back, Nick Daniels. My family and I have been we've been proud Brookfield residents for over 20 years. I think I know some of you already on this board, but I did want to speak about this because my husband and I brought our first home here in 2004 as newlyweds. We lived with my dad for a little bit while we renovated, and it was only supposed to be our starter home. It was supposed to be just like we were going to move out. It was too small for us. We knew, but we had a baby in tow, so we had to have a home at that point. And so, but as we fell in love with Brookfield, we fell in love with this village. We fell in love with our neighbors, that we decided to stay here. And we decided to keep that home as we didn't plan on being landlords, but we needed to find a new home. So we bought a bigger home for our growing family of 5. And so we became landlords, not just unintentionally, but we took that responsibility seriously. We learned the laws, we maintained the property, and that was in 2019 we became landlords. And we care about our tenants, and we've been fortunate. Our tenants have been wonderful. In fact, 3 of our last 4 tenants went on to buy homes here right in Brookfield. So that matter is because it makes communities, there's the community stability. Between our 2 homes, we now pay 2 mortgages, and we pay $20,000 in property taxes alone. So we feel like we've invested in this community. We're doing that. We love our community, but I did want to say that we are opposed to this tonight because it's like in fairness, evidence, cost, and expansion of the government authority without clear need. We did come last week to listen to what was proposed because we were wondering, we did want to see, like, is there a concern? Is there a need? And we looked it through and we heard what was presented by Ms. Libby and the pictures that were presented, and I did not see that concern at all. She did not present sufficient data showing that Brookfield has a widespread landlord problem that justifies this level of regulation. In fact, I only heard that there was 25 concerns between the landlord and tenant in 2 years, 25 circumstances that constituted it. But it did not, it wasn't clearly stated what happened. It did seem like there is an issue of administrative issues where staff say the problem is largely administrative, bad ownership records. If that is the issue, then registration-only model serves that problem without expanding inspection authority and burdening the responsibility of responsible owners. So I can go on and on because I did think that there was a lot of that, but I think who will actually pay for this is for people that are responsible landlords. And I think one of the things that you mentioned last week, Mr. Garvey, is that responsible landlords were present. That you're not seeing that you're not seeing the concern of, or the other people are not showing up. But again, I think that those people are not showing up because we don't know who they are and where they live. And so I think that we have to figure out a reliable system even to identify all rental properties. Because I feel like if we don't, it's going to be the responsible people that are footing the bill. And for now, it's only $125, right? At this point, that was noted. There was a few circumstances: $50, $125, $225. But as we know how these fees go, it gets higher and higher and higher. So I just wanted to name that this policy is actually seems like, or this ordinance seemed like it's going to be passed on to us, who really care about our renters. And really work really hard. I know my husband, he's Johnny on the spot with our tenants. In fact, I have to ask my tenants, can you tell him to put in a request for me to get my honeydew list done? But he's like, we really work hard to make sure, but it's because we realize that being responsible landlords makes us have good tenants. And we care about our home. It was our first home. So I don't know about how all of Brookfield's rental properties go, but I do know that I just wanted to name that we are responsible landlords. And we have caring tenants. And so I just wanted to name that, like, please consider people like us, who I would say, I guess we're small business owners, which we didn't plan to be, but we care about this community, and just consider people like us in this, because there's this word of landlord, which has such negative connotations. And we are not that. We are just a family, and we invested in this community for ourselves and for our children, and it is a great community. So I'm just asking that you think about that when you make your vote tonight.
Thank you for sharing your story and your input. Appreciate you coming out. Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I was going to wait till later, but since I'm up here, I
Sure.
can speak. There's also the added burden of, it's going to probably be during the week that these proposed inspections would take place, which means I would have to take time off of work. I work in Des Plaines, so it would be a significant amount of time for me to take off, get here, schedule something. And I did see if I would have needed to cancel, there's a fee for that. It seems the burden for a few is placed on everybody. If it's a matter of the registration, okay, I understand that, and properties need to be registered in order to be able to get in contact with the landlords. But there's also, you're kind of bundling in a safety aspect, saying that all properties need to be inspected, and so then it adds an additional fee on there and time, and then I'll leave it at that for now, and as I collect my thoughts, I'll hopefully be able to step up later.
Thank you again for coming out and sharing. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else have any general public comment on my left side at this time? Yes, sir. Is that you? Yes, okay.
Good evening. Alan Goodcase, 8940 Shields. I purchased rental property about 12 years ago, which I still own, and I was sad of the fact that it was not here in Brookfield. Now, I'm thankful that it's not here in Brookfield. That's all.
Thank you, Alan. Okay. Anyone else on this side? Okay, hearing no further public comment at this point, move on to reports of special committees, please. Trustee Narimatsu.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the corporate warrant dated December 8th, 2025, in the amount of $6,003,288.94.
Second.
The motion was made by Trustee Narimatsu, second by Trustee Kaluzny. Any highlights or anything you want to point out?
Yes, this was a big one. The majority of our bonds are paid semi-annually, is that the right term? Every 6 months. So that accounted for about $2.67 million, and then another $2.7 million on infrastructure, lead service lines, water mains, street improvements, and the salt storage. That's it.
Okay, do any board members have any questions or comments related to the corporate warrant? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
With respect to Public Works, I just wanted to give them a quick shout out. We've had, I think I read 17 inches of snow in the last 2 weeks, and I know that first snowstorm, they were out all night. And so I just want to give them a big shout out because they've been working really hard. I think it's more snow than we received in the entire last season. So please observe all the parking bans for when we have these big storms. I don't think they're going to end anytime soon. And as always, use the C-Click Fix function on the village website if you have any issues. That ends my report.
Thank you, Trustee Narimatsu. Trustee Gilhooley, Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, the Chamber Board met today, and just a couple of main updates. The holiday celebration, in conjunction with the village, from the Chamber and the village working in partnership, had a wonderful weekend with the Kris Kringle Market. They had over 4,000 visitors to the Kris Kringle Market that they were able to count, so they believe that there were definitely more walk-ins that they missed, but they felt that it was very successful, and it was held this year behind Village Hall for many reasons rather than the front. So they're looking forward to doing that again next year, and wanted to do a big shout out to DPW also because it did snow overnight. It was a 2-day market this year, and all of the tents got covered in deep snow, and took quite a bit of work in the morning on Sunday morning to clean those off and open back up for the public. So they're very grateful for that. And hopefully everyone enjoyed going around supporting our small businesses during the holiday celebration. And there was a lot with the trolleys running and all kinds of activities. It was a really great day on Saturday. The other update is the Dancing with the Chamber event. That will be held in March. It's on March 21st. Tickets will go on sale in January. But what you'll see on social media across the various chamber channels are each week, and one of the dancers will be announced and have a profile. And our first dancer was announced just today, I believe, and that is Mrs. Barb Garvey, who is a wonderful village volunteer. And so if you may see her smiling face.
Smart move by the chamber. They picked the clearly better dancer and better, so
Right?
thank you to Barb for taking a
She's
bullet
gonna
for the
have-
team, so.
She's gonna have a good time, and those dancers are already starting their lessons and really looking forward to a great turnout over at Riverside Brookfield High School in March. So even if you're just a little bit curious about what that event is, I highly encourage you to get a ticket and go, because it is really fun and kind of uproarious, and everybody gets into it, so even the whole crowd gets into it. Their next meeting is January 12th on the lower level of the Linda Sokol Francis Brookfield Library, and then at noon, and that ends my report.
Thank you, Trustee Gilhooley. Trustee Hendricks, Planning and Zoning Library?
Well, Trustee Gilhooley forgot to mention the winner of the Dancing with the Chamber last year, which I believe was
Oh, I didn't fail to mention that.
We have a champ.
was Trustee Gilhooley. I have no report this week.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Ketchmark, Administration, Economic Development?
Economic Development Commission meets next Wednesday, the 17th at 8:30. Would report back after that.
Thank you, Trustee Ketchmark. Trustee Whitehead, Parks and Recreation?
The Parks and Rec Commission has not met since our last meeting, but just a few updates. Trustee Gilhooley mentioned the holiday celebration. Thanks to all the staff and volunteers who made that possible. The sidewalks were packed. I know I was out there with my family. Lots of support for the local businesses, and just lots of great community joy and coming together and celebrating the holiday season. Even got to see Santa's new drone at the tree lighting, which is a really fun and creative capsule on the event. Just a special shout out to all the volunteers who stepped up, and we would not have been able to do that event without people in the community who volunteered their time and made it happen. And also our assistant village manager, Stevie Ferrari, who is doing double duty as interim parks director right now, made the event bigger and better than I've seen in my time here in Brookfield. So thank you. A couple other updates on the Ellert Park Field 1 project. This is on the largest baseball field at Ellert. We have a project moving forward to do work not just on the field itself, but the fences and the dugouts and the press box. So there was a plan to move ahead with demolition in this late fall, early winter period. We've done some surveying that has delayed that demolition from happening, but it is still planning to move forward this winter. So the new deadline for completion of Phase 1 is February 15th. So the plan is still very much to have the field ready for spring ball. And we will cross our fingers and hope the weather cooperates and the project can move forward as quickly as possible. I've gotten a few questions about the recreation guide, people anticipating the next round of programming. So we are expecting that winter-spring Parks and Rec guide to arrive in mailboxes in the first week of January, with some programs getting started at the last week of January. So keep that in mind for your winter-spring programming ideas. And before you know it, we'll be thinking about summer camp as well. So summer camp registration will open up at the end of February. The Parks and Rec Commission next meets on Tuesday, December 16th at 6:30 p.m. here at Village Hall. And that's it for my report.
Thank you, Trustee Whitehead. Trustee Kaluzny, Conservation and Beautification?
Yes, the Conservation Commission has not met since our last meeting, but they are meeting tomorrow night here at Village Hall on December 9th at 6 p.m. They'll be discussing their plans and priorities for 2026. And they're also working on a lead service waterline replacement education program to be held at the library in January with partnership with Hancock Engineering and village staff. So thank you for all of those email coordination that I see in my inbox to make that event a success in January. And then the Beautification Commission has not met since our last meeting. Their next meeting is the first Tuesday in January at 6:30 p.m. But right now there is their holiday decoration competition is out, and so if you have really awesome holiday decorations in your yard, or your neighbor does, you should tell them to nominate their house this month. There's a note on the village website. There's some social media posts. It's also been in the newsletters the last week, so definitely make sure that you get recognition for your beautiful yard. And I just wanted to note on the beautification piece that there's all of the new construction that's gone on Grand and on Prairie and on Brookfield Avenue with the new holiday decorations is just really lovely, even with snow on it. And so I got a lot of great comments, and it looked really great in front of the Historic Society this weekend as we were doing all the tree lighting. So thank you for all the effort that has happened from all the departments to make that beautiful. Thank you. That ends my report.
Thank you, Trustee Kaluzny. Briefly, the solid waste stations, WCMC, have not met since our last meeting. Brookfield Zoo continues with their holiday lights presentations, and traffic issues we've been, again, working to try and resolve and limit the traffic input on our neighbors. I think with some of the weather coming up, because we get close to the holidays, they'll have even more traffic, but we're doing everything we can. We use social media to kind of publicize the heavy nights and things like that, and we'll continue to do the best we can. I would like to add a few thank yous also. Just repeating some, I know some of it's repeating, but I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the Brookfield Chamber of Commerce, and specifically the Farmers Market and Chris Kringle Group Committee. It's basically the same people that did the Farmers Market that did this Chris Kringle Market, and it was a lot of time and work and effort, and it did bring more people to the village. And if you could think about it, they were out there all day Saturday, all day Sunday. They were shoveling snow and everything else, and it did bring people out, and it was very well organized, and they worked well with the village. They had really good mugs that I think there's still a few available. You could check their website, but I got the mug up here from the Chris Kringle Market. So thank you to Gina Sharonauer and her crew for really doing a great job. And again, you noted that Public Works really jumped in. If you could picture Sunday morning at 7:30, they're trying to open at 10 o'clock. Snow's coming down. There's snow everywhere. Public Works really jumped in. Some guys came in off the streets and helped clean up some standing water and clear pathways and helped shovel to make the farmers market. And I wish they would have taken before and after pictures, because when I got there at 7:45, the thought was maybe not to have the Chris Kringle Market, and by 10 o'clock you didn't know it had snowed the night before. Everyone did a tremendous job cleaning it up, so thank you to them. The Village Holiday Celebration, every department was involved in every way. It was just a tremendous effort, and it's very rewarding for us because we get to see and we get the thank yous that night from everyone that had a great time, and the kids that got to see Mr. and Mrs. Claus and the whole holiday celebration. Couldn't happen without all the sponsors. I know I listed the sponsors that night, and I thanked them. We had many different sponsorship levels to make that event happen. It's an expensive event, but we think it's very worthwhile. As I mentioned before, try and patronize our sponsors. Our small businesses give a lot back to this community to make special events like that happen. Small Business Saturday was a snowstorm, so when we're trying to encourage everyone to get out and shop at small businesses, the Weather Channel was telling people to stay home. It snowed all day on that Saturday, so a lot of those local businesses took a hit that day, and a lot of them told me that that weekend and this holiday season can make or break that year. So if you can make an extra effort to just whatever shopping you can do locally for the holiday season to complete your gift list for your holiday celebrations, anything you can do to buy things in Brookfield, support the businesses in Brookfield, would be greatly appreciated by the business owners who give back so much to the community. So pop in when you do and thank them for supporting the events that we all enjoy so much. There's a lot of other people I want to thank, but we'll end it at that for tonight, so thank you. That ends the reports of special committees at this point, so I would entertain a motion to pass the omnibus agenda as listed.
So moved. Second.
The motion to pass the omnibus agenda was made by Trustee Hendricks, second by Trustee Kaluzny. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu?
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley?
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to items that are regular business. And the first item that we're going to consider is a rental registration ordinance. And before we do that, with the indulgence of the board, I promised people that I would allow a chance for additional public comment on just this topic. As chair of the committee meeting, as chair of the board meeting, I'm asking that we be allowed to do that. So I will once again invite anyone up that wants to give public comment to address the village board. And for those of you that just walked in, we're very liberal. The board wants me to be very liberal with public comment, but I ask that you don't need to repeat the same comments you made at previous board meetings. Please don't give the board legal advice. Even if you are an attorney, we have a very good village attorney. If there's some new information or something you want to add, you're free to repeat the things you've said before, but we'll give everyone a chance to talk. And some of you who haven't been to the meetings before, the acoustics in this room are not the greatest, but we can hear everything in the back. So I give everyone a chance to talk and to come up to the microphone and talk, and the board is trying to listen. Please don't whisper or say things in the background when other people are speaking. It's just not respectful, and it makes it very hard to hear. And you're free to applaud, but I could tell you the board doesn't count applause or the applause meter or anything like this. So throughout this process, there's been a lot of public comment. We truly appreciate the effort, people coming out on these nights, and I know the board hears your input. So I will this time, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to start on this side. Does anyone on my left side have any comments on the rental registration? Barb, you get to go first. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Barbara Dom, 4513 Park, and everyone I know got my email. And I did a little bit of research regarding property transfers from March until, I think it's October, printed from the landmark. And yes, I can see, as I said before, the problem with identifying properties with legal people's name and where they actually live as in comparison to their investment property. And so, you know, you've got manager freight system, you got fast track, you got 90,000 West, and I won't say, you know, the rest of the street. Flipping entertainment, Gil property and investment, you know, you got made up names, and I can understand the problems. However, the amount of transfers that took place, that was publicized in our local paper, like I said, from January to October, I believe it is. That was 186 transfers of property. And the ones that I could see that didn't have real human being names was 20. So it doesn't really seem like to have such a involved program for basically a small percentage of properties. Now granted, I understand too, when you go back to the beginning of time, there's more, but the properties do sell, and I think it's a matter of, like this other lady said earlier this evening, that it's a matter of documentation and record keeping. I wasn't at any of the other meetings pertaining to this other than that last one in November. And what I do find a little bit disappointing whenever I attend the meetings is I can't read people very well. Matter of fact, I can't read people at all. But the only person that I actually felt that questioned things pertaining to this was Trustee Ketchmark. But there was nothing, now I don't know what's given into your packets that we don't see, but I didn't see any discussion as to this program that would be looked into, how it's going to be stored. Are we talking software? Are we talking paperwork? Is it a spreadsheet? What's the cost of any software? I know Trustee Ketchmark brought up whether or not it would add an expense for employees, but nothing as far as software itself. Now we're also talking annual updates. It's kind of like, I'm thinking, gee, well, you know, that's kind of like our village sticker. Of course, we got all new village stickers, so all of that has to be updated. But when you figure the amount of properties that people live here, and year after year after year, it's going to be the same information. We're talking about one employee or maybe more going in and double checking that all of these, 8,000 properties
are updated. I mean, that's a lot of work for what seems to be a small percentage of those properties that can't be identified with a human being. And that's why I still go back to the concept that your main file is with the water bill. You're asking us to create a whole new file for you by submitting whatever information you're gonna be asking for, plus we're gonna have to pay for it. You know, why don't you just send us the software and we'll just all plug it in ourselves? But the other question is too, and I'm not looking for answers, I'm just kind of throwing them out there. If you have people that don't want to be identified with a particular property, how are you going to find them out anyway to now update that file or that property with an actual name and a legitimate address? You're still going to have the same problem. And just, you know, throwing all of us into the one bushel, it just seems like it's overkill. And that's how I feel.
Thank you, Barb.
Okay.
And I appreciate you, I mean, Trustee Ketchmark has asked questions, and you admitted, I appreciate you admitting you were in all the meetings. Every board member has been involved in this, and you rightly admitted you don't know. We have very detailed packets. We have very detailed information. We have they have the chance to talk to staff and give feedback and questions and answers from staff throughout the week. So while I'm not debating, Trustee Ketchmark has been very diligent. All of these trustees have. Trustee Whitehead, I believe, missed a meeting, and Trustee Gilhooley missed a meeting. They watched the entire meeting all the way through. This board does their homework. They read, they listen to the public input. So I just want to take that out of anyone's mind that they're not, people are not informed on this issue. They're very involved and very aware of it, and they've listened to your input. They're on social media and everything else. So I just want to make that clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Who else on this side? Sir, the name tag,
It's okay. B in my last name stands for brevity, so I'll be brief. Hello. Good evening, President Garvey and members of the Village Board. Before I begin, I just would first like to express my thanks to Libby. She certainly does her homework and is super accessible. I wish all community development directors were as great as Libby is. My name is Michael Bailey, Local Government Affairs Director for Illinois Realtors, speaking on the rental registry tonight on behalf of thousands of members who live and work in Brookfield and suburban Cook County. Realtors advocate for high-quality residential housing and managing rental units with integrity. It's too often that we hear about low-quality housing conditions across our state. We commend the village's interest in upholding a living standard for multifamily owners and landlords to adhere to. As such, we have offered our experiences with registries across the state to help Brookfield evaluate the right path forward, which we believe aligns more closer to option one. We all agree that the right path means a program that broadens the village's ability to respond to residents' concerns with the property's condition as it relates to their health and safety. We also agree that upholding private property rights and keeping Brookfield affordable is in everyone's best interests. Realtors provided staff with information from the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation about the importance of reporting property management companies and landlords for failures to respond to tenant requests for services. With that being said, realtors remain opposed to a rental registration program that calls for increased inspections. Option 2 and 3 also allow for in-unit inspections in case of a complaint. What qualifies if a complaint is valid or not? Who can file a complaint? What sort of complaint justifies an in-unit inspection? What protections are there for landlords if a tenant falsifies a complaint? What if someone files a complaint but a tenant refuses to give access? Is the village prepared to spend time and resources on receiving an administrative warrant to inspect the property? In light of these questions, I want to remind the board that Cook County's RTLO provides tenants with remedies to these matters. I also want to remind the board that in 2015, Brookfield made a pragmatic decision to eliminate pre-sale home inspections to, and I'm paraphrasing here, better allocate resources to our more pressing problems. This was a win for housing affordability, housing quality, and the village finances. That same logic applies to the rental inspection conversations had tonight. In fact, there is a very, very smart man in the room today. President Garvey, yourself at the side at the time, I'm glad to hear that we've gotten to a point where our resources can be better allocated. Once again, we commend the village's interest in upholding a living standard for multifamily owners and landlords to adhere to. While unfortunately, in our experience, Burdensome inspection programs create more questions than solutions. Realtors want Brookfield to continue to be a place people desire to live in and invest in, so we look forward to continuing conversations about housing quality here in Brookfield. Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out and you're working with staff. Appreciate it. Okay, who else on this side? Sir, yes, you can come up, sir. Why don't you come up first? You're standing, so you, sorry, I'll get you. I don't want to describe you by clothing items and stuff, so. Santa Fe Speedway sweatshirt.
Yeah. How are you? Just a couple suggestions.
If you just state your name for the
My
record.
name is Severo Episcopo. I own part owner of apartment buildings over here on Arden and Brookfield Avenue. Just a suggestion. I know some of your accounting, you guys from listening and reading, you guys are having accounting issues of trying to figure out which homes are leased and which ones are owner occupied. You guys, I'm not sure, I live in LaGrange, but from what I remember when I did live in Brookfield was you had village stickers that were mandated. Could it be possible to just have a simple check somewhere to check on when they're purchasing a village sticker that says if you're an owner or a renter, a lease, in some way to audit that? And then as far as complaints, maybe streamline your website to have where the residents of Brookfield can complain almost, about their landlords or people violating it, like somewhere like an online forum. I haven't been on there, which just two suggestions.
I appreciate you.
It'd be a lot cheaper to do it that way, I believe, personally, and plus the village police Brookfield police is already going around looking for village stickers as well, so.
Okay. Thank you for your suggestions. Sir, on the left side on the black sweatshirt, or is it black or navy blue?
Close enough.
My name's Rich Campbell. I don't live in Brookfield, but my wife and I have 3 rental buildings in Brookfield. And also, up until last month, we also had a tenant situation where we rented from a landlord. So we're kind of on both sides of this landlord-tenant situation. And we support Brookfield, even though we don't live here. We have the buildings. We shop here. We go to the restaurants here. We go to the farmers market. We were at the Kringle market, thankfully on Saturday and not Sunday. I'm also a lawyer, and I will take up your suggestion and not provide any unsolicited legal advice on this. But we wanted to make known to all of the trustees that we really oppose the options that deal with anything regarding inspections. And that I won't restate all the reasons. We were here for a meeting in October, and you had many, many people up here talking and gave their reasons why they thought the inspection requirements would not be appropriate. So I won't repeat those other than to say we strongly agree with them. I do want to say, if you have to do a registration option where all you're doing is registering the owners of these rental buildings, and by the way, first of all, I think there are other ways to get that information that's less expensive and more efficient. But if you had to do a registration, we could accept that. But I want to understand, I thought the option said if you registered as the owner of a rental property that you would have to pay a fee every year. And I guess I don't understand the logic of that. I mean, if you own the building, you've registered, you know who the owner is, and unless that changes hands, why do we have to do anything more or pay an annual fee for that registration? So from our point of view, if you had to do a registration-only ordinance, we could live with that, but we would really strongly suggest that you don't make this an annual registration requirement only when the building changes hands and now you have a new owner. And with that, I thank you for listening, and hope you'll put all this advice to good work here.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you for coming out. Who else on this side? On the rental registration? Anybody? Okay, this side, front row.
Good evening, everyone. Lou Arzon, housing provider here in Brookfield. Once again, I'm here to express my opposition to the current proposed options as laid out in the staff memo. I'm not going to hash out many of the points that I've reviewed before.
Just a couple things. I mean, one, the packet that I reviewed this week looks very different than the proposal and the framework that we reviewed on November 24th. Previously, staff said interior inspections should only occur when tenant complaints or specific notifications justify them. But that limitation never appears in the proposed ordinance. Instead, the draft preserves warrant-based access to private units under undefined probable cause. No standard for what determines it, and no safeguards to prevent misuse, no standards for who determines it. So if the intent is truly complaint-based inspections, the ordinance should say so. Not to belabor legal, but Zion, Illinois learned the hard way. They had an ordinance. It was struck down in federal court for violation of Fourth Amendments, and the town repealed their program. We shouldn't follow in the same path that's already been litigated and rejected. Secondly, the new framework creates an inconsistent structure in options 2 and 3. While the standard program excludes in-unit inspections, the so-called exemption requires the most compliant landlords to self-inspect every private dwelling and self-certify compliance. Calling this as an exemption is somewhat misleading when it imposed more obligations upon its compliant owners and that qualify for this exemption. Finally, option 3 now requires annual inspections rather than the previously discussed 3-year cycle, expanding scope without cause or explanation, which I'm hopeful we'll discuss later today. For these reasons, I urge the board to reject any framework that includes inspections of private property. Simple registration solves the stated problem without creating new ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else on this side? On the end here? Yes.
Hi, my name is Robert Consul. From attending the October meeting when this was discussed, and then also reading the current packet, it seems that the issues that are of concern for implementing this ordinance are still initiated by calls from tenants. I've been a building owner, one building for 47 years and another one for 35 years. I believe that if there are problems that have been reported, such as no heat in winter, plumbing, safety issues, they're reported by the tenants themselves, complaining and bringing to light the issues that need to be addressed. These in turn are resolved via village resources or sending an inspector to investigate and resolve the issue. While on the premises, the inspector would be able to examine both the interior and exterior of the building, which is part of options 2 and 3 of the ordinance, and if required, the inside of the apartment where the call was initiated. It is my belief that at this time, a tenant calling regarding any building code, safety issues, interior, exterior issues could be addressed to correct them without further mandatory inspections. However, I must ask the question, if you do not know now, have a list of building owners on file, how are you going to contact them to inform them of this new rental ordinance and its requirements? How are you going to get the information to them that all apartment building owners in the village are aware of this new ordinance? Are you going to run a story in the local paper? Are you going to publish this in a village newsletter, put it on the website? Are you going to use social media? What happens if a building owner doesn't subscribe to a local paper, read the village website, read the village newsletter, or use social media itself? Not being able to contact all the owners in the village would seem to create a major inequity for those owners who are aware of this ordinance and who you already may have contact information from, who take care of their properties, versus those who may never or cannot be contacted and simply ignore this ordinance because they are unaware of it either by choice or ignorance. Also, there's a timeline to implement this ordinance on March 1st of 2026, just shy of 3 months away. This does not seem to be an adequate time frame to find, notify, and get the forms out to building owners, especially those that apparently you have no knowledge of who they are. The other concern was previously addressed is in the future, there's going to be future increases in, will there be future increases in fees? As labor rates continue to rise, is there going to be a cap on fees charged? If you're going to decide to pass on the proposed rental ordinance, I would strongly encourage you to choose a simple option of a $50 yearly registration fee, and as the previous speaker had mentioned, just do a one-time. If I've been owner for 47 years and things haven't changed, or 35 years, why do I have to pay a $50 fee every year if I'm the same owner, haven't moved or anything like that? I can understand charging a different registration fee when the building is sold, or if
I move or something like that. But I would strongly encourage you just to keep this as simple as possible. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate the time and efforts.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for offering your comments. Appreciate it. Who else on this side? Yes, you in the white lighter sweatshirt, black jacket. I'm sorry about calling out clothing, but and if I get the colors wrong.
My name is James Atopa. I feel like this proposed ordinance is a bamboozle on us. The fact that you guys are unable to do your administration for the tax money we're already paying is kind of ridiculous. And I'm really upset by this because much of this is the kind of work that I've done in many different jobs where I could pull up a PIN, I can go to a website, I can use a VLOOKUP, and a spreadsheet could manage this in a short period of time as far as real administration. The thought that you're gonna have a running yearly tax on the tenants, because this is where it gets passed down to harm the people who don't own things here, but actually harm the people who are renters here, I think is without heart. It doesn't really look at the situation. There are remedies already in place within this state. Ultimately, I wish that you guys would realize that within 136 years of this city being founded, we haven't needed such a thing. And what I'm seeing this is a failure of all of you. It's really a disappointment because we could do this for 136 years and now we can't. We're gonna charge people yearly for something that is very clearly a single done registry that needs minor updating. There's other questions here about people entering into private property. And I'm sure you guys have already talked to your lawyers about this, but when you have a building inspector, you request that as a citizen. This is the government saying we have a right to enter into somebody's property that invades our property. And I think that that's really gonna run aground to some of our amendments of our Constitution. If this isn't a theft on tax, I'd love to hear this go. We'll do it as a $4 fee for the next 200 years without ever changing this fee. So we have a simple paperwork fee, something that costs for the paper for the absolute minimum that it really probably is required for this. Thank you for your time. God bless you all.
Thank you for sharing your opinion. I appreciate it. Who else on this side? Anyone else? Yes.
I guess I picked the right day to show up.
You.
Yola Ladeo, and I'm 4500 Blanchard. My parents own a rental building in Summit, and Summit implemented a similar type of system that is insanely invasive. We have to register, they do checks on the building every 3 years, somebody comes out to do inspections, it's a 4 to 5 page checklist. We as the landlord have to pay the fee. It increases because they've been doing this for a number of years now. The fee increases. Nobody ever gets everything right at the first time around, so they have to come out a second time around. You also have to pay the fee for that. And it's very stressful on the law-abiding landlords. And I think if a tenant has an issue with the building that they reside in, there are tenant rights. And their rights are more than landlord rights, honestly. If there is an issue or there's a complaint, then they have the right to follow the steps that they need to follow to take that complaint up. I don't think that the government needs to have their hand in yet another thing. We get penalized. The landlords get penalized. The tenants get penalized. And somebody makes money somewhere. Summit has an outside company and it's a massive moneymaker for them. It's very, very intrusive and it's not necessary. If a tenant has an issue with the building that they live in, if something's not working, take it up with the landlord, take it up with whoever, whatever the steps are to do that. I maintain my home. It's a little home I purchased next door from my parents one day, and I've got great tenants, non-issue. A lot of the people here have great tenants, non-issues. They maintain their homes. I don't think the government needs to have a hand in it. I don't think you need to know that I even own a rental. If there's an issue between me and my tenant, it's an issue between me and my tenant for us to deal with. We pay taxes, we maintain everything, we do what we're supposed to, and it almost feels like a collective punishment that we have to deal with because there is a handful of landlords that maybe don't maintain or don't have the best tenants, and I just don't think that that's very fair. And that's what I have.
Thank you for.
If you want to know the model, give Village of Summit a call. They have it implemented right now.
Thank you for sharing. Okay. Sir, you just walked in. not to call you out, the plaid shirt, did you just walk in or did you walk in and out? Because we're talking about the registration ordinance. We're just about to finish public comment on that. Did you have something that you wanted to say? Okay, we go out of our way. And on behalf of the board, I want to thank everyone for the public comment. You've been very professional, very polite, try to raise good issues. I appreciate that. I speak on behalf of the board. We like to see when there's people at the board meetings. We've had lots and lots of meetings where those chairs are empty except for staff and the reporter from the Landmark, and nothing against the reporter from the Landmark, but we do appreciate people coming out because we do listen to your input, and whether it's email or, things on social media, we appreciate that. So, as I promised, I gave everyone a chance to talk. Now, but what I intend to do here with the board is there's 3 potential ordinances based on input from the board that were drafted for tonight's meeting. My intention is to start with what is considered probably the most restrictive or the most requirements and ask if anyone wants to make a motion and a second on that one. And then if there is a motion and it requires a second, the board would then talk about that and then vote on it. If there's not a motion or a second, I will move on to the second most restrictive ordinance, which is the most restrictive is what's listed in the agenda as the annual inspections, which includes the registration. Each one is cumulative, but the third is the annual, the second is the every 3 years, and then the first is the registration only. So I'm going to go in reverse order. So the first item I'm asking, is there any trustee that's going to make a motion to approve an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Brookfield to regulate residential property with annual inspections as listed in the board packet? Okay, hearing no motion, that will not be brought forward for a vote. The second item, I'm asking, is there any trustee that wants to make a motion to pass an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, the Village of Brookfield, to regulate residential property with triennial inspections? Okay, hearing no motion on that, that will not come forward for a vote. I'm asking, is there any trustee that's making a motion to pass an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, the Village of Brookfield, to regulate residential property with registration as listed in the board packet?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the motion for this ordinance was made by trustee Kaluzny, seconded by trustee Whitehead. I will now open it up to board discussion on that item.
One thing I just wanted to confirm, with this option, the complaint-based system remains in place in terms of in-unit inspection. It's not in the title here, I think, for kind of descriptive reasons, but that is the case. Is that correct? Yes, the complaint-based system is always in place just through regular Right, as code exists enforcement. today. There's no Right.
change
to that process. That And is I know correct.
in past discussions of this, we've talked about, is there potential to do some community education around tenants' rights and making sure that that tenants are aware of the resources they have. I understand it's also part of the materials they receive from their landlords, but I do hope that's something we and staff can stay on top of in terms of doing whatever we can to make sure tenants are aware of when they can speak up and what resources they have. Other questions or comments from the board?
There's been considerable time spent by staff, the Economic Development Commission, and the village board over the past 8 months on the potential rental registration program. This initially was presented to the EDC in April and was not met with much support. This came back to the EDC in September with continued discussion and presentation from staff as well as the village prosecutor. After a nearly hour-and-a-half discussion, EDC saw how having specific contact information related to property and landlords to be helpful, and agreed to a one-time rental registration for properties to be updated upon sale or changes. There would be no cost and no inspections, neither common areas or inside private living areas. As EDC liaison, I was asked to forward their concerns from this being seen as an additional tax on landlords, hindering new development, possibly keeping people from renting in Brookfield, intrusion on tenants' private residences, to being a huge administrative undertaking. Subsequent to the EDC commission, this village board has had 3 separate committee meetings on the topic, bringing us to tonight. Being that the board is not interested in pursuing options 2 and 3, we're talking about registration only. To the idea of registration only, it is not clear how this would work. We heard some comments tonight as it relates to this. How do we reach out to property owners to get them to register? One resident I talked to commented to me that we should do what we do with vehicle sticker renewals, in that we send them out to every address in town, whether they have a registered vehicle or not. In this case, we would send them out to every address, hoping to make contact with a small portion of those addresses that have rentals. Interesting idea. The idea of using the water billing data has come up several times. It would be fair to assume that every rental property in Brookfield has water supplied and billed for by the village. When the service starts, there is an application to open up a water billing account. Maybe the current info we have or ask for does not go far enough in supplying the owner of record information that we are wanting. Maybe that can be changed. Short of this, would compliance simply be voluntary? If there isn't compliance, will staff be tasked with spending the resources in hunting down the property owner's info, which is what we are trying to avoid in having the registration? The Community Development Department is tasked with a lot of different things, with property maintenance and the related parts being just one of them, but also business development, attraction, planning, permitting, business contractor licensing, and many more, all being part of their role. Committing resources to a rental registration program should be looked at very carefully, because these are resources that are needed in many areas, and there's an opportunity cost here as well as a financial cost in spending resources in one way and not being able to spend them in another.
Thank you, Trustee Ketchmark. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I just wanted to recognize that, you know, we heard from a lot of housing providers, and, you know, I think it's all been really helpful to hear from you all. I also am a landlord, not in the state, but in another state, and I understand the burdens that this kind of policy could have on you all. I also want to recognize that, you know, a lot of people aren't here to talk about their issues, whether they're tenants or landlords, who might think this is a good idea. And I also don't think that responsible governance needs to wait for a public health or safety crisis to take action. I think a village needs as much data as they can get in order to manage successfully and effectively. So I just wanted to recognize those issues. I think this kind of rental registration offers the village and its staff at least some data. I don't know, you know, maybe we can talk about how it gets implemented, but I think more data is a good move, and I support the rental registration only option.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table. Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Ketchmark.
Pass.
Trustee Whitehead. Aye. Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
To go back to Trustee Ketchmark, he used his right to pass on his vote.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion passes.
That passes. Thank you again to all the housing providers and everyone that offered public input and public comment. As with, after being on the board for this many years, there's nothing that we've ever done that is completely written in stone that never changes or can't be revisited. We like to reevaluate our policies and things as we go forward with input from staff and the public. So thank you for everybody that shared their comments and their input, and thank you to all the responsible housing providers that we have in town. You've been heard. We know the fact that there's a lot of responsible housing providers here that came out. I think you understand that we may have some that are not as responsible, but I think the boards try to make the most informed decision they can, and we'll look at it going forward. So thank you for coming. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We got a lot of fun stuff still left, so you're welcome to stay, but I know many of you have other jobs and other obligations. I just ask if that you are going to use your opportunity to leave at this point, that you leave and go out, just not even speak in the lobby, because, again, the acoustics in the room aren't great. So I'm going to just pause for a moment. Please stay if you'd like, but you're welcome to leave. Okay, there. So let's move on to the next item under regular business. At this point, I'd entertain a resolution to award a contract to KPGS Consulting as part of the Creative Placemaking Grant for the Brookfield Shops at Congress Park.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by trustee Gilhooley, second by trustee Kaluzny. As the memo that was provided by Deanne and Libby worked on, this is part of the Creative Placemaking Grant that received it from Cook County, the amount of $192,500. KPGS has helped us throughout this and is very experienced in the shops. And so we're asking to use the funds from the grant to award this contract to KPGS. Questions or comments from the board?
I know that last year, as we were setting this up, village staff put in a huge amount of time, even on their own time, making sure that this was an excellent project, and it's turned out really wonderfully. I really look forward to seeing this contract and these consultants take hopefully even more of that burden off of village staff so that they don't have to spend quite so much time over there. I think that it makes sense.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, you have a motion, a second. We have a roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead. Aye. Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item, I'd entertain a motion to pass a resolution to award a contract for the 2025 tree and stump removal project to Bluter's Tree Service in the amount of $24,902.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by trustee Hendricks, second by trustee Narimatsu. This is the process we've done a lot of tree removal during the year, and I think a lot of people question why don't they remove the stump as they're going through. There's crews that take down the trees, and stump removal is a very specific project. We put it out to bid, and these amounts came in well under the engineer's estimate. Bluter's Tree Service is a very familiar company to us. They came in as the lowest qualified bidder. They will go around and remove the rest of the stumps and locations throughout the village per the contract. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just have a quick question
Sure.
about, are these trees in parkways, or are they in like parks and?
It would only be, we only take care of the trees in the parkways
Okay.
on village property.
But I think you would, did you say parks? If any village-owned trees,
Any
if-
village.
village trees, so in the parkway or if they're in the parks.
Right.
If the tree was taken down, they'll try and remove the stumps at this point in time, so.
Is this something you all keep track of? You know where the trees are located?
Public Works has a very good
Public Works
inventory.
does, right.
Victor and Public Works, we have the GIS information as to where the trees
Just
were
wondering if
taken
I
down.
have to personally sign up.
And it's only trees that we authorize to be taken down,
Okay.
because private property owners can't take down trees on
On the
village
parkway.
property.
Okay.
I think typically, the contract, in this case, the contract's for 25 trees and 100 stumps. We don't have specifically 100 or 25 trees picked at this point, but it'll cover up to 25 trees and 100 stumps.
I believe there are some trees picked out,
Right.
and you're right, and some, the weather dictates, other disease dictates.
Right.
and remove.
And I know that the GIS and the inventory we've done has helped speed this up and expedite. So Public Works will work with Bluter's to find the ones that need to be done. And I know some of them are past due if they were removals that were done previously. You know, we try and go in some type of regulation and order, but, okay.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion, a second roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item, I entertain a motion to pass a resolution for change order number 1 of the 2025 water main improvements project in the amount of $123,389.50 to Suburban General.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by trustee Kaluzny, second by trustee Hendricks. The original contract was awarded to, earlier this year, and as the project is completed, there was some additional work that needed to be done in the amount of the $123,000. This was discovering some additional services that needed to be done and additional excavation, so we're just expanding the original contract with this change order, so. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead. Aye. Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 5, I entertain a motion to pass an ordinance establishing the 2025 village tax levy.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Kaluzny, second by trustee Ketchmark. There was the required public hearing earlier this evening on this. The board has discussed this numerous times since the fall. And we had the required public hearing and asked for required public input. Any other further questions or comments from the board?
No, but I just wanted to thank Doug for the awesome slides that he didn't get to present earlier. But I saw them in the packet. They're great. They were good ones.
I know Doug's very disappointed every chance he doesn't get to present in front of the board, so. But if anyone wanted to see them further, we could display them publicly, so. Other questions or comments from the board? Could we have a motion and a second? Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And the last item, entertain a motion to pass a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2026 annual budget.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by trustee Gilhooley, second by trustee Kaluzny. This is the annual budget that has been the subject of months and months of work, a previous budget workshop by the village, numerous committee meetings. This is our spending blueprint for the coming year. Again, so much work went into this from the department level all the way up to management level and board level, so I appreciate all the work that went into this. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, that ends the items we have under regular business. Tim, do you have anything with the manager's report?
Yeah, unless Doug wants to, one last chance to present your slides. You sure? Okay. I just have a couple of calendar updates, and I want to remind both the board and the public that we've canceled the second meeting in December. So the next village board meeting will be January 12th. We also, it's the end of the year, it's the holiday season, so there are various office closings that are going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Village Hall and all village offices will be closed on December 24th, 25th. Will be closed half a day on December 31st, full day on January 1st for the various holiday seasons. Or the holidays. So I want to thank the village board for granting those days off and wish everyone a very happy holiday season. Second of all, I heard from most of you, staff inadvertently left an item off of tonight's agenda that is time sensitive, and so we would like to schedule a special village board meeting for this Friday at 3:30. There's one item, possibly two, it'd be a very short meeting. If I didn't hear from anyone, is there anybody that knows that they cannot be here in this room on Friday at 3:30 for about 10, 15 minutes?
This is for a grant application for some funding for Maple Avenue.
I've heard from at least 3 of you, I believe, so I just need one more.
I still have to check, but I can let you know tonight.
I can be there.
You can be there,
I had sent you an email.
and you can be here? So we have, that's a quorum.
The more the merrier. If everyone else can make it, I'll try and make it here too. So I appreciate the flexibility. It's just something, there's a December 18th deadline to apply for the funding, so we want to make this happen, so.
Very good, so you'll get a packet on Wednesday for that meeting, and we'll hold it in this room at 3:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. That ending the items on the village board agenda at 8:12 PM, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the village board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Narimatsu, second by trustee Gilhooley. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark.
Aye.
Trustee Whitehead.
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks.
Aye.
Trustee Narimatsu.
Aye.
Trustee Gilhooley.
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, the village board meeting's adjourned at 8:12. We will go into the committee of the whole meeting as quickly as possible. If anybody on the board needs a quick break, we have a private presenter tonight. I would like to not keep waiting long.